All right, so some of y'all might be thinking, "Am I having deja vu? Didn't he just go live? Didn't he just stream like literally less than an hour ago?" Yeah, man. Like I'm not playing around this year when it comes to collaborating, when it comes to networking, when it comes to connecting with people from around the globe, not just here regionally, not just nationwide, but globally, connecting with people, collaborating, and helping understand that there's every one of us as individuals can make an impact on the world. But when we link arms with one another, you know how they say, where there's one or two comes together, there's power. So I want to link my arms with as many people that I feel have something in common with me, or at least they're doing something that I feel is important to the world, or at least important to a certain demographic of people, to where we bring that information to you. So the gentlemen that we have today, or this afternoon, we connected probably, I don't know, probably almost a year ago, a little less than a year ago. And I just kind of watched his activity, watched how we move, watched some of the environments that he was doing his work in. And I'm like, I like this guy. He is doing a lot of the things that I have done, a lot of the things that I'm continuing to do at a lesser frequency, but he is really positioning himself to use his resources, his information, his desire, his passion, his talent to get in front of people and deliver information that could potentially transform the future of their lives. We recently decided, you know what, let's get back on the phone, let's connect, let's see how we can work together to bring information to the masses, and who knows where to go. So as you see in the title, putting life back into life insurance. So I'm not even going to sit here and act like I'm an expert. I was a licensed agent for a little while, but that was a very little while. So I'm gonna bring forth Mr. Sterling Savage himself. Before you speak, so I remember whenever we first got on the phone, I told this guy, dude, you know your name is like legendary. Sterling for one, that like that's jewelry. And then like that's like a silver. And then Savage, like you go Savage on whoever you want, man. Iconic name. How's it going today, man?
Man, it's going great, man. It's going great. Middle name Clark too. Clark Kent.
Nice. Okay, we got Superman in the house. I love it, man.
What's
So
up?
man, for one, I appreciate you joining me. Things have been chaotic over here on this front, but kind of like we were speaking to before we went live, we're blessed to be in a position that we're in. And as somber as it may be, we got people in California, we got people in all across Africa, we got people in the Middle East who are losing loved ones left and right, who are losing property left and right. Who would probably literally give at least one arm to have some of the things that we take for granted. So, for everybody who is listening, look at your situation right now and give thanks. Like, put out some gratitude, because not everybody can be in the situation that you're in. As dire as your situation seems, it can always be worse. It can always be worse. So be grateful for what you have, for where you are, and be thankful for what, if you're a believer, for what your creator has coming to you in the future. So, on that note, we're talking about life insurance, among other things today. Before we get into any of the meat and potatoes, man, just give the audience a little synopsis. Who is Sterling Silver? Sterling Silver. Who is Sterling Savage, man? Who do we have before us today?
Oh man, Sterling Savage, man. I would just say I'm a humble guy, man, who just wants to leave the world better than I found it, man. I got a background in education, been an educator for about 15 years now, and I transitioned into life insurance. And so, with that background of being an educator, I want to continue to educate people, more so on life insurance and the different ways it can be used, the different types of life insurance, and something that really hit me was I heard on a video one time somebody was like, life insurance is the only product you're guaranteed to use. You're
Facts.
guaranteed to use it no matter what. So yeah, man, that's me in a nutshell, man. I really just try to help people as much as I can, educate and help people. And if they don't want my help, then I say, have a great day. But for me, the biggest thing is just like I said, I want to help people. I want to leave the world better than I found it. My heart is always with kids and families. And so I've always had that protector role. And now, pivoting to life insurance, now I work with a lot of families to protect their kids and all their assets, everything that's important to them. So I just kind of continue my legacy of helping people and protecting people that way.
Nice, nice. That's what's up, man. So, at what stage or what point in life that you realized you wanted to go into education? And then while being in education, at what point and for what reason did you eventually navigate into the life insurance space?
Oh man, it's crazy, man. My grandma told me when I was like, because I used to tutor kids, like she owned her own hair salon, and I used to go there after school, and I would do my homework. And then once I got in like high school, there would be clients, kids coming in, and they would like just send them to me and have me help them with their homework and the behavior and everything. They sit like, hey man, sit down this table, let's get this done. And what's crazy is my grandma told me, man, when I was like in high school, she was like, Sterling, you ain't gonna be nothing but an old professor. And I was like, oh no, bro, I don't want to be a teacher. No, me, never, never. But you know how the elders, man, they always had that wisdom, man. And
Hmm.
so she spoke that over me, man. And I went to college. I went to college Charleston. I didn't know what I was gonna do. Declared a business major, right? Because I'm gonna be a businessman and make all this money and be successful, right? First year was like, I don't know if that's gonna be it. And I actually went and volunteered at a school that was right down the street, at an after school program called Wings for Kids. And then when I came home, my mom was like, all you do is talk about those kids, man. Do you really love it that much? And I was like, yeah. She was like, well, would you do it if you didn't get paid? And I said, yes. And she said, well, that's your passion. And after that, I changed my major to early childhood education. Got into the Call Me Mister program, and then graduated and taught second grade for 4 or 5 years. Then I had a pretty decorated and long career in education, working in public, private, charter, higher ed, alternative. I've worked at multiple after school programs. I've worked at MUSC on the psych ward supporting kids who had suicidal, homicidal tendencies. I worked in group homes. Anything you could think of with supporting at risk youth and their parents, I've pretty much done it. And
Wow.
so I pivoted to life insurance when I was actually at the College of Charleston, and it honestly, man, it was just like a financial thing. I was just like, I have to get another stream of income, and I have to, make some more money. And so that really is what drove me into doing it. And I was like, I want to still be able to help people as well, because it is about the money, but it's about helping people. And I think
Yeah.
those things can be, they don't have to be separate from each other.
Coexist.
Yeah, they don't have to be separate from each other.
Yeah,
So.
and I'm glad you mentioned that, and that kind of ties into where I was about to go with things. So I want us to go back to when you were in business school and you were like, I don't know if this is it, because I was in that same situation. I was an accounting major when I first started, and
Mhm.
coming out of high school, I was just good at everything, like all
Right.
top grades in all the accelerated classes. And my dad was like, "You should go to be an accounting." Or an
Mhm.
accountant. So I took accounting, and real talk, I wasn't focused. I was in the rec center playing basketball and working out like literally like
Yeah.
60% of the day,
Yeah.
and my grades just dropped. And I remember taking my very first accounting exam, and I made a 36 on it. So I said, "This ain't it." But just similar to yourself, I came full circle. Whereas I went into psychology and social work, and now I'm with the psychology and social work background back
Mhm.
in the business space. But
Right.
what I want to ask you on that front is like, what are some things that you would say to some of those who may be in a similar situation? What are some of the things that you will say to those who are getting into college, they're just starting, and they may find themselves after that first couple of weeks or month or so, or that first exam, thinking that this ain't it. What are some things that you would tell them, uh, as far as maybe pushing through? It's okay to change courses. Like, what is your feedback on that feeling?
I would say the biggest thing is I would say find a quiet place, and sit with yourself and really like, some people journal, some people, record themselves, but really think about if you are struggling, why you're struggling, and what you're doing and what you truly want to do. I would also say take some time and tap into yourself and figure out what are your gifts, right? Um, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? And who do you want to be, right? And how do you want to change the world, essentially? And so, because a lot of times, I feel like a lot of times, like our parents, it's almost like building a house. Our parents give us the foundation, right? And then we kind of like start building on top of that. Then when we get our own family, what I mean, we kind of build off of that. And so a
Hmm.
lot of times, like when we go, like I ain't gonna lie, my mom told me, she was like, "Look, you either going to college or you going to the military or you gonna get a job." You know what I mean? You're gonna get up out the house and you're gonna be productive. You're gonna do something, right?
Exactly.
So a lot of times, like I feel like, and that's a great thing, right? That's a great thing that parents are supportive that way. But I think a lot of times, sometimes we go and we do these things because this is what we're supposed to be doing, but we don't necessarily understand specifically how we're going to do it or how it's going to work. And I think that
Hmm.
in college, that's a very important time when you're discovering yourself. You're becoming an adult for the first time. It's a lot of moving parts that go into college. And so the biggest thing I would say is, um, finding a mentor. I would definitely say find a mentor, even if that's just like someone that's a year or two ahead of you, or someone that's successful in an area that you think you might be interested in, and just connect with them and have at least have multiple mentors, right, for different areas of life. And because at the end of the day, people can give you advice that you might have never knew you even needed, you know.
Hmm.
And a lot of times we get the message that we needed from the person and from the place we never expected, right? It's not like, man, I'm
That's
going here to
true.
get this answer today. And it's like, no, like you'll be, at the beach. Like, hey, you want to go to the beach? Sure. You go to the beach and then you sitting there and somebody drops some wisdom on you, like, man, that just like solved my problem. So
Right.
just being open to receiving feedback, but also being intentional with having someone you can go to and talk to, just to bounce ideas off of, or just to get some guidance, if that makes sense. It doesn't always have to be somebody older than you either, because like when I was the director of Call Me Mister, I told those guys, like, they were mentors to me as well. Like, they made me a better man. And so it's not
Hmm.
always about somebody being older than you. It's just about someone being able to give you a different perspective on something to improve what you're doing.
Exactly. And I appreciate you giving that just a variety of answers to that question, really. And it's one of the things that I love to speak about whenever I go and pour into the youth is, for one, your parents, respect your parents and the direction that they push you in, because they help you build that foundation. But once you get out there, you got to explore. You got to figure out, what do you want for you, and don't feel bad about changing your major. If you change your major, as part of your lived experience.
Mhm.
Change your major, but take serious everything that you do get into, because you never know when that first major that you were in, you didn't pay a whole lot of attention, you didn't really feel at the time that you benefited from,
Mhm.
how 10, 15 years down the line, you're going to remember something
Mhm.
from that little period of time, and it
Yep.
sparks your career. And,
Mhm.
and I look back to, I was an accounting major, then I was a graphic design major. I've been
Mhm.
able to generate decent income and the financial space and in the graphic space. And I didn't even finish getting a degree in
You
those
just got the
areas.
skills. You got the
So
skills.
exactly. And it's, as cliche as it is, the skills can pay the bills. So
They
you
will,
don't
yes, sir.
you don't necessarily have to have a degree in something to be able to be efficient in it. And something else that you mentioned, I wanted to hit on, multiple mentors. Now, usually when we first come out of high school, we first get into college, unless it was instilled in us before we left school, before we left high school, oftentimes we don't understand or even think about the value of a mentor when we're at that stage in life. I know myself, it was only after I fell on my face a couple times and then I
Mhm.
had some guys around me that I saw, "Ah, man, like I like what he's doing. That's kind of like what I want to do. Let me go and holler at him."
Mhm.
It was only then that, like, what started as kind of like a friendship became a mentorship. And like you said, you never know what or who is going to be your mentor.
Mhm.
Just be genuine about what you desire, and surrounding yourself with people that can kind of nurture that desire. So having multiple mentors, like, that's super important. Whereas you're not a singularly faceted person, there's multiple facets of your life. So you got fitness, you got, your emotional well-being, you got physical well-being, you got occupational well-being, you got all these different aspects of your life. You want to have at least a couple of mentors across the board, because
Mhm.
maybe the guy that is killing it in business, that knows exactly the direction that you want to go in business, knows exactly what it takes to hit the numbers and to be successful in business, but he 400 pounds and huffing and puffing.
Right,
But
right.
then, and you got somebody over here who's killing it on the basketball court, in the gym, most athletic person you can ever think of, but they
Mhm.
struggling financially. So you want to understand. Look, I'm gonna kick it with you, but I ain't trying to listen to you when you talk about what we're gonna eat, and I'm not
Right,
trying to
right,
listen to you when you bring in
right,
some sort of gimmicky business pitch to me. Like, nah,
right,
we ain't got that type of relationship. So understanding the fact that there's people in various different areas of life that you can benefit from in a mentorship capacity. And I don't know if either of them will run across this video, but I'm just going to shout out two of my mentors. One of them being a gentleman, academically, Jerome Cobo, University of Southern Miss. He put me on game from the jump, helped recruit me out of Miami, brought me back. Think about it, brought me back from Miami to South Mississippi. Who
from
wants to leave
Miami?
Miami to South Mississippi? So this guy
Mhm.
brought me back from Miami to South Mississippi, and my career academically, and then the professional aspect of my career from the academics just skyrocketed underneath his mentorship. And then after that stage is when I got my first business mentor, a guy by the name of Chris Holder. Dude was very successful in his own right. He wasn't an academic. He dropped out of college once his eligibility for basketball was over, and it was the right choice for him. Completing college, finishing college, even starting college isn't everybody's path. And he's been very successful. Successful husband, successful dad, successful businessman. So I go for him, or go to him for those areas where I've seen him successful in. So having a mentor in multiple different areas is super important. So let's go ahead and speak on that transition when it comes to the whole area of life insurance. You mentioned that yes, it was for a financial reason. You wanted to make sure that you were taken care of a little bit better financially, but at the same time, you want to be able to continue to help people. And if you're an educator and you spend that much time in education, we already know you love helping people because you sacrificing
Can't
income
help it.
to
It's just
help.
natural. It's just who I am. I can't help it, you know?
Exactly. So let's kind of transition into the whole life insurance space.
Yes.
And like I mentioned, as I was introducing you, I was actually a licensed agent in Miami for a while, whole term and annuities. So I
Mhm.
learned a decent little bit back then, and I remember one of the things that they always put into our head whenever we would go and try and sign up a policy was, you always want to let them know it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So that was kind of the thing that I took with me, and I've been able to apply that to so many different areas in life when it comes to putting important things in place. So, what would you say the initiation of your transition into life insurance was, and like how has that evolved since you first started from where you were to where you are today?
I think that I've developed more as an agent, and I think that because with me being an educator, I like to become an expert on things, right? I like to learn everything. But going into life insurance, like that's not always the way to necessarily jump right in, because like they say, like earn while you learn, right? So you're writing policies, you're helping people, and you're learning.
Hmm.
And so over the time I've developed as an agent, I've learned more. I've learned, I've learned how to master different things and understanding more in depth how the industry works, right? And so I would say the biggest thing now for me is expanding my knowledge on life insurance, because when I first came in, it was like, okay, this is normally how life insurance is used, like one, two, or three ways. But over time, I've learned there are so many different ways to use it. And it's really life insurance. It's not just for when you die. And so that's the biggest thing. And man, like for me, it was eye opening to me, like when I was studying for the exam and when I passed the exam, because it was like, man, I've heard of this stuff before. Like I've had policies before, but I didn't understand how it worked. Right? I was like, man, think through my job, I signed up for a policy and I took some money from it, and then now it's like, oh, that's what that meant. All that makes sense now. And so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I had it, I used it, didn't really understand it, but now I understand it completely now. And then, like you said, it's kind of like coming full circle again of like of
Mm-hmm.
understanding things that I've heard before and experienced before, but didn't really know what it was. Just kind of was like, oh, you need to do this. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's kind of been the evolution for me. And my biggest thing is really just clearing up misconceptions and just being honest with people. Like this is this is real life, man. People die every day. We life is unpredictable, man. And so I know some people don't like talking about it, but that's what we need to do. So a lot of times we need to have uncomfortable conversations to do what we need to do versus what we want to do or what feels good, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're avoiding it now, but then when something happens, it's not if, it's just a matter of when. It's not if, it's a matter of when. When that happens, then you're going to be in a completely worse off state because we put this off or procrastinating, right? And I mean, honestly, man, it's gotten to the point now where, bro, people can get approved and get a policy in 20 minutes. So there's really
Mm-hmm.
no excuse. You can get approved. All the carriers I work with, man, they do express issue, man. Like I can get you covered in 20 minutes, man. Seriously, like, and I mean, we have policies to where accidental policy, man, you can get for a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Or like a child's policy, like, and I know it's kind of morbid, man, but kids die. Unfortunately, kids die, man. And so but it already takes such an emotional toll on you when someone passes away, but also not having anything there and having to either miss work or having to go get that, find a way to get this money to cover for that and then pay the bills. Like, it's a very unfortunate situation that we really can, we can prevent. I mean, like it's not hard to do. And so really it's all about, do I want to be responsible and protect those that are close to me? That's really what it comes down to.
Definitely. I see we have this comment, can you get pet policy as well? I'm pretty sure there's ways to do so. Do you guys do anything as far as covering pets or
I don't think so. No, 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 no.
yeah, I'm sure there's because that's anytime
There,
somebody has a
I have
question
I
like
have
this,
heard of that though before. I think like
yeah.
it was like, I think it might have been Progressive or something like that. Like when they offer different types of insurance, like they have like the house and the auto, and like they have pet insurance, but
Yeah, actually
think,
I think Geico does that too.
yeah, it's one of those bigger
Yeah,
companies that just offers like all this stuff, and they kind of like throw it in there as well. Like, do you want to insure your pet?
exactly.
But no, I don't.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man. But just just based on speaking on some of the things that you just mentioned, um, I'm the type of person going through this social work master's program.
Mhm,
We go in head. We're like firefighters going into a fire, whereas most of the time people are trying to get away from the fire. The firefighters go straight to it. That's how social work professionals go into taboo to awkward to sensitive topics.
mhm,
So talking politics, whereas most people are like, no, I don't want to, because it can be very contentious. It can bring up a whole lot of emotions one way or another. But I
mhm,
love it when I'm talking with someone who's logical. If I
mhm,
can talk to someone who's got sense and I can actually make sense of things to them, and at the same time they can clarify their perspectives to me, I like to have those dialogues. When it comes to sexual related conversations, I love to have those because a lot of people don't live their full selves because they don't understand certain things. They can't express themselves in certain areas. When it comes to life insurance, when it comes to death, that's probably on the lower end of the spectrum, but I also love to be able to have that conversation because it's so important. And I know that if I'm not willing to bring it up and you're not prepared, then I feel like I've did a disjustice to you or a disservice to you by not having that conversation when I know I can kind of help you be a little bit at ease having a conversation. Whereas, somebody in your family talking about it with you, nah, we ain't about to talk about that. So how do you or how did you starting from when you first got into the life insurance space, how do you get people comfortable with having the conversation, knowing that most people automatically attribute life insurance to death? How do you get them comfortable in having the conversation, not just shutting down?
Well, I think that honestly, one of the big things is sometimes you just got. They say like punching them. Like sometimes you have to be direct. Sometimes, and
Hmm.
sometimes you have to just be blunt. When I first started, I was like, hey, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's do this. At the end of the day, though, man, like it comes down to, are you going to protect your family? Is your family protected? What are you going to do about it? Right. And kind of getting out of all the excuses, and learning that sometimes, like, it's not that you're going to have to tell me, no, you don't want it. Right. And one of my coaches pretty much says, because we call a lot of our clients and leads, and he's like, you got to be courageous, man. He said your job is to help people. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of times, like, as we get older as adults, we're really just big kids, man. We're still procrastinating on everything, man. And we're just like, okay, I'll do it later, and I'll do it this, and then next thing you know, someone passes away, and it's too late. And there's two things that I really focus on, and I really say time and people. You can't get those back, so you really got to guard those and protect that, man. And like now I'm at the place now where it's just, this is the conversation, man. Like this is what we need to do, and this is how we can do it. Are you ready today, or when will you be ready? Because you don't know what's going to happen. And I also explain to people, like, life insurance can be used so many different ways. So it's not just about burial policies. That's one. Final expense, that's one type of policy, right? But there, like, now a lot of companies are doing living benefits, which means that if something happens to you, if you have a heart attack, if you have stroke, if you get diagnosed with cancer, you can access a portion of your death benefit to pay your medical bills, or to pay whatever you need to, and still have the remaining death benefit for when you pass away. I was just working with a client the other day. He was getting a small business loan, and so he got some insurance to cover that for and so, like, it's so many different ways that people can use life insurance versus just, oh, when I pass away, man, I don't want a funeral, man. Just put me in a box. Like, that's a conversation we had 20 years ago. That's not
Yeah.
what we're talking about right now.
And before we go into all of the different living benefits, let's be courageous for just a moment here. And this is for everybody that's listening right now. And like, I add this into some of the coaching when it comes to generating a certain amount of income for your family and starting to put things away, so on and so forth. As a parent, and this is specifically for parents, for as a parent, ultimately, you not getting some sort of life insurance is you telling your child, get ready to go in debt, get ready to stress out about bills when I go, get ready to potentially lose your marriage because you trying to help support me, and it tears. You are pretty much intentionally putting a barrier, or a
Mhm.
burden on those who are going to be responsible for things after you pass, because you didn't take the initiative to get on this policy. And then you'll have the excuses, but I can't because of this, but I can't because of that. And then you break down to them that, well, you can actually qualify for a policy at this small cost. It only gives these specific benefits, but that's better than nothing. And when your situation changes, you can get improve that policy, get something better. But oftentimes people aren't courageous enough to hold the mirror up to people's face and say, you know what, the day is going to come where Father Time comes a knocking, and what you going to do then? It ain't going to be no, well, I will tomorrow, or wow. No, what there is going to be too late. So
Mhm.
being able to have those conversations with people about death, like the reality, we are guaranteed to perish one day or another. You do not know when that day is.
Only product
You
you
do not
guarantee to
know.
use, man. It's guaranteed, because you're gonna
Exactly.
die. But I'll say one thing too, man. I hear a lot of people, they'll say like, "Oh man, like I know I need to get some insurance on my mom. She's getting older, but I got to talk to her first." It's like, there's something called insurable interest. If your mom passes away, are you going to be the one that's responsible for handling everything? Then you need to get a policy on her, because she's going to be gone and then you're gonna
Correct.
have to figure out how to pay for everything.
Right.
So it's really like you said, it's about being courageous and doing what needs to get done. It's not always about what feels good or what I like to do. It's about, no, you have to do what is necessary to get these things done to protect the people you're responsible for.
Now, question, along those same lines. Let's say I'm someone who knows that I'm going to be heavily responsible for some of the after death, dealings with my parents. Are there ways to get them covered on a policy without them necessarily having to sign papers and like be part of? Ultimately, they're going to have to sign something if you're getting them covered, right?
Mhm. Well, yeah. So pretty much you can get as long as you have insurable interest. Like if that's your mom, you can get a policy on your mom.
Got it.
So like you just have to have her information,
Hmm.
right? Because you're going to need certain things. But if you are the person who is going to be responsible for them, you have insurable interest, which means you can get insurance on that person because you are the person that's going to be responsible if and when something happens to them.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I state that because I know sometimes you mention it to your parents. Hey, we need to make sure you got X amount of life insurance. We definitely not looking forward to the day, but it's going to come someday. We just want to make sure everybody is taken care of, and things just don't go crazy once that day comes. And oftentimes, from what I've seen, we'll talk about that later. We'll get around to it. But
Mhm.
instead of waiting for them to get around to it, since I have the insurable interest, I could go ahead and take advantage or take initiative, get them covered as long as I got their information.
Mhm.
Got
Yes,
it.
sir.
Perfect. So I hope everybody got that information because I've seen what happens with siblings. I've seen what happened in families after the parents pass away and one is pointing to the other. So you're going to take care of this. You're going to take care of this. How are we going to take care of this? If you have insurable interest, you can get a policy and you can start working or paying towards that to make sure those expenses are taken care of. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Some people may have heard that question and are like, duh, like, who doesn't know that? But then other people have no idea. So, what would you say? And this is along those same lines, what would you say is a question that you have gotten that the person was kind of, this may be a dumb question, but what about X, Y, and Z? Like, kind of give us a spectrum of like the questions that you get that many people are completely oblivious of, but then a whole other blocket of people that's like common knowledge to them.
I would say probably like IULs. Man, I get that all the time, man. Like everybody's like, "What's up with these IULs, man? What's this IUL, man?" And it's just a different type of life insurance policy that's permanent that has a higher interest rate as far as cash value accumulation, right? Um, and so I would think that like I also get a lot of questions about like, okay, so like how much does your insurance cost, right? And that's just based off of pretty much the person, how healthy they are, how much coverage they're looking for. It's really a personal thing. I think one of my mentors said like, because somebody says like, oh, what's the best type of life insurance policy? The one with your name on it. It doesn't matter whether it's term, whether it's whole life, IUL. It doesn't matter. Accidental, because accidental is the fourth leading cause of death. And I'll be honest with you, man, like working in life insurance, man, it made me face my mortality, man. I'm sitting here like, man, I'm about to be 40, man. I got to make sure, I'm doing this and this and this and making sure my health is right and doing things like that, man. So I know a lot of people avoid it because, it makes you face your mortality, man. Like, oh man, I'm not really going to be here forever. No, you're not. Um, but yeah, a lot of times I get questions about IULs and I get questions about how much it's going to cost and just general things like what age, because a lot of times sometimes people wait and like, hey, my grandma's like 88 and I'm like, I don't know, but I don't know, man. Most companies only go to 85, so
Yeah.
most companies only insure to 85, right? And just at the end of the day, I mean, I tell people, I'm like, get it while you're younger, man, while you're younger and
Hmm.
healthier, man, because once something goes on your medical record or you're diagnosed with something, it's harder to qualify for certain policies.
Hmm.
Um, and so the biggest thing is to be proactive and go ahead and handle it, and it's cheaper then too.
Yep.
So
So, on that note, I want to kind of go into two separate directions. So, I called my company "Your Legacy Begins Now." I
Mhm,
started it back in February 2018, and it's because I really want to help individuals understand how to create a legacy. Various
mhm,
different types of legacies, however you want to, qualify what your legacy may be. But one of the things that I think about, and it's a very impersonal way to look at life insurance, but also various other purposes behind generating revenue, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things when it comes to life insurance, I think about is I want to make sure that I have a policy in place that's going to make my children be better off. That's going to
mhm.
position my kids to come up on some money. And a lot of times, it's some people look at it backwards and like, they just wait for me to die so they can get that money. And I'm looking at it like, well, I just want to make sure that whenever I do that, they get that money. So at the
Right.
same time, like educating your kids, and let's and we can kind of make a slight pivot. I see the shirt that you're wearing, Ready, Set, Educate. So
Yes.
educating your children at a younger age, or whoever the beneficiaries are, starting to educate them at a young age on how to move with their money. On,
Mhm,
not to just because you come up on X amount of money to go out and, oh, I'm gonna buy this, this nice whip, I'm buying a new house. Like these non-necessities, helping them understand, let's create generational wealth. Let's
mhm,
create to where we don't come in on money from an insurance policy and it automatically goes out to expenses, but we're
mhm,
strategic about it. Only a certain percentage of it goes towards expenses, and another percentage of it, and we'll have another episode where we speak on this. Another
mhm,
percentage of it goes into a trust. And we
mhm,
have all these different things in place that distributes the wealth through the generations. And it's not just, I'm gonna come up on it and then I splurge it, and now we're starting back over from, from the base. So, what are
mhm.
some of the things that you do education wise when it comes to helping individuals learn about the benefits of life insurance as it pertains to passing down to generations, and the just the wealth vehicle of it?
With my background in well, first of all, Ready to Educate is me and my wife's company. She started it, I think it was about 3 years ago. It actually started as a tutoring company, helping tutor kids academically, and then with my experience and behavior, we offer mentorship and things like that. But it's really about supporting kids and parents, right? When parents need support. And so with me becoming a life insurance agent, we create another arm of the business, just kind of like tying in financial literacy and life insurance through that, right? Teaching parents about it and, like you said, setting their kids up. So the biggest thing I would say is just that teaching your kids is very important about that. Teaching them about money, teaching them about all those things because you don't want them getting older and not knowing those things. And pretty much there's a policy that you can use. It's called the Index Universal Life Policy, the IUL, what everyone's talking about. It just has a higher interest rate because the interest rate is tied to the S&P 500. So that's higher than normal traditional whole life policies. And if you want to set your child up for success, what you can do is you can set up an IUL for them, and then they have years for that money to compound and grow. So that way, when they get 25, when they want to get married, they have a little nest egg right there. If they want to get a car, they have a little nest egg right there. So it's really about educating the parents first and then educating the students. And with all of my years in education, I have a lot of connections. So I go and speak at different schools. Like I'm going to go into a school in February to talk to some high schoolers about financial literacy, about what I do, about life insurance. I was actually working with an alternative school and teaching them about life insurance and financial literacy just in general. So I use a lot of my education background and my connections to continue to teach people in the community, and also partnering with any really organization that wants to help kids and families essentially. I partner with them, and if they want me to come in and do like a seminar, like a parent seminar, or a seminar for maybe their mentees or something like that, I can do that as well.
Got it. Wonderful, wonderful. And that's something that obviously is a necessity, and it's an undervalued resource that we really need to, I think, stress more importance on. But what I want to do now is kind of shift a little bit more into the some of the life or the living benefits. I pulled up a list of some different benefits or living benefits when it comes to life insurance, because we hear life insurance, but our brain hears death insurance. So
Burial.
not
That's what we hear.
not
Burial.
exactly. So not enough of us really understand. Yeah, people say there's more you can do with it than just, final expense, but what is that more? Now, some people here, you can use your life insurance to be your own bank. You can use your life insurance to do this, to do that, all these different things that media and social media are hyping up. But what are some realistic? You mentioned some already, but what are some realistic day to day, moment by moment things that people go through that they can actually use their life insurance policy to benefit them in?
Um, Man, I think that there's so many different ways. Like I said, like I was working with a client who got a life insurance policy, to cover a small business loan, right? On the business side of things, there's also policies you can take out called key person insurance. So, say me and you were partners and we had a business. I would take out a key person insurance policy on you. You would take out one on me. So, if you pass away, I would be the beneficiary, or the business would be the beneficiary.
Hmm.
And then what you could do is get a buy sell agreement, which means if you pass away, I agree to, buy you out or buy out, your portion of the business, and it goes to your beneficiary. Right. So
Got it.
you have that. Man, you have, like I said, you have that. You have the living benefits, which allows you to access a portion of your death benefit if you're injured, or if you're out of work, if you can't work for more than 90 days, um, if you can't walk, bathe yourself, hold your stool, then you're not going to be able to go to work. So if you can't go to work, you can't make money. You can't make money, you can't pay your bills, right? And a lot of people don't think about that. And there's actually a 44% chance that everyone's going to become disabled during their lifetime. Um,
That's
so
a
not
that's a big number,
Yeah, 44%, so
right?
like you don't think about that, right? And so in addition to that, it can also be used for mortgage protection. Um, and so like I know, like for me personally, like I have like $1 million term policy on myself. And that's for if anything happens to me, my house is covered. My house is covered. That's paid off, and then there's a good bit left as well. Some goes to my wife, my mom, my brother. And then I have another policy that's an IUL, which accumulates cash, and also they could use that as my burial policy. So that way, like, and I tell people it's always good to have multiple policies. You could also have like a whole life policy, that whole life participating policy, which means you get paid dividends. So there's so many
Mm,
different ways that you can use it, man. And people say be your own bank. Yeah, it's called the infinity banking concept, where pretty much you put money into life insurance, um, the cash value grows, and you're able to take money from that. So that can either be a withdrawal or a loan, but the loans have to be paid back. So if you take a loan, the loan has to be paid back. But the idea is that if you take a loan and your money is still compounding, it's going to pay the loan back. But you can't.
yeah,
I tell people it's not a smash and grab, man. You can't just go in there and be like, I'm gonna put 10,000 in, and in 2 years I want to take out this. That's not how it works. It's meant to be put in and for it to grow over time. Now
hmm,
you can max fund it, but there's limits on that too, because if you go over a certain amount, now it becomes taxable.
mm,
So people don't
got it.
understand. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of little
Yeah,
intricacies that people don't really explain to you, and it's like, hey, just put this money in here and you be a millionaire. It's like it doesn't work like that. And
right.
I watched another video where the guy was like, IULs are great policies, but you got to have the money to begin with. If you don't have the money to put in the policy, it's not going to compound. So if you can't afford an IUL, then get a term policy with living benefits until you are in a place where you can get an IUL. But then get an IUL on your kid, because an IUL on your kid is going to be like $14 a month. And the beauty of IULs is that the premium and the death benefit are flexible. So guess what? I can start an IUL on my 10-year-old son, and it's only $20 a month. But in 3 years, I can bump that up to 200. I can start putting 200 in a month. You see? So that's really the benefit of that. So it really just depends on what the client is looking to do. And that's also why I
Yeah.
call myself an advisor, right? Like I sit down with you and I advise you, okay, so, what made you reach out to me? What were you looking to do? And what's your ideal scenario? And then let me see if I can help. Because I might not even be able to help. You might not be able to get what you want. Some people want
Right.
IULs, but you have to qualify not only health wise, but financially. So everybody wants an IUL, but it's like you don't even qualify for it. So, and the crazy thing is like you have to be in good health to qualify for IUL. So there,
Yeah.
like I said, everybody's not getting an IUL. Everybody's not qualifying for an IUL. So there are little things, little intricacies that have to be addressed and be, and explained and taught to people when they are looking to do something. But it's not always, it's not always a bad thing if you don't qualify for an IUL because you can get an IUL on your son and put the money in his policy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like an end all be all, like, oh my God, I can't do this. It's always what they say, there's a will, there's a way. So it's all about what are you looking to do? When are you looking to do it? And how are you looking to do it? Now let's build a customized plan for you. So we do all things life insurance, man. We do individual plans, family plans, everything.
I love it. And I'm sitting here and my mind is running, and a lot of these ads and these promotions are like just going through my head of what I see on YouTube, where they're pretty much making it seem as if anybody can qualify for this. Everybody needs to get this. Like, no, it's not at
Everybody can
all
qualify
a
for
one
accidental.
size,
Everybody
right?
qualifies for accidental.
Yes, and the thing is, like you mentioned
The
the
IUL.
UILs,
Mhm.
that's been one that's really been pushed. And I think, like you mentioned, the education aspect of it is helping individuals understand what they're likely to qualify for, what is most beneficial for them based off of their specific situation, and
Mhm.
then also what all the options are. So I know when I was an agent in Miami, we pushed whole life. Like for
Mhm.
some reason, that agency was really big about pushing whole life term or whole life policies. And
Mhm.
then after I came back here, and some years that passed, and I started working with and coaching people who were specifically with the company Primerica. They're really big on pushing term life. So it's
Yeah,
like
all
they
those
say whole life is garbage, only get term life. So what would
things.
you say to people when it comes to them kind of in that cesspool of, dang, which one should I go for? Should I get term? Should I get whole? How would you break down the fact that, it depends? Like, it
Well, firstly, I would
depends,
say
plus the fact that there are multiple that they can get.
Well, first of all, I would say book a consult with me, right? So we can talk because I also do policy reviews. Because what people don't understand is that your insurance needs change over time, right? So you may have term now, but then you want to get something else later, or you may have whole life now, but you want to get term to cover your mortgage. So your insurance needs change as your life changes. When you have a kid, when you have a kid or you buy a house, or so it's a part of your life. That's why I'm trying to tell people it's not just when you die; it's all throughout your life, right? And it would pretty much be based off what you wanted to do. And what was the question again? Can you go back? What was the question? Just
No,
pretty much.
yeah, just the like that. You answer the first half. Like, what do
Mhm.
you or how do you break down to them the fact that you can actually have multiple different types of policies?
Oh yeah. So the way I break it down is life insurance is really pretty simple, man. There's really two types: term and permanent. Term is temporary. Permanent is for the rest of your life as long as you pay the premium. And it's all based off of where you are in life and what you need to do. So like IULs, traditional whole life, participating whole life, all that falls under permanent. So it's really it comes down to, okay, what are you looking to do? Are you looking for something temporary today, or are you looking for something permanent? So what I like to do is educate my clients so not only can they make a good decision today, but they can make a good decision in the future as well. And then I'm hoping that, as we work together, I'm their agent for life, right? So in 2 or 3 years, when they need to get something else, and I'm doing my check-ins and my policy reviews, they're like, hey, you know what? This happened. I need to go ahead and do this, and this, and really educating people, not just selling them a policy. Because if you're meeting with me, if you're like requesting to talk to somebody, you need it. You just don't know what you need, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my approach is very much like I don't want you choosing between your life insurance policy and your refrigerator. You get what I'm saying? Like, get what you can afford, man. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, the first thing that goes when you don't have money is people's life insurance. They be like, man, I just ain't gonna pay that, man. So we have to also like do what's in the best interest of the client. Like if you're on a tighter budget right now, just get term. If you qualify for term, there's nothing wrong with that. There's
Mhm.
nothing, there's nothing wrong with term. And so different, like you said, different companies, different agencies have like a focus, right? Some of them focus on term, some of them focus on whole life, some of them focus on universal or IULs. I'm a broker, which means that I work for a brokerage, which means that I work for my customers. I work for my clients. So what I do is I meet with you, I assess your needs, and I shop around for you. I save you time because I'm contracted with about, 30 different companies that have over 100 products. So that's why it's like, what do you want to do? Now let me build this customized plan for you. Versus like if you were to go to, say, one carrier, you might even get denied. You might not even be able to get accepted there. But if you come to me, I can find a carrier that will cover you because one carrier may be good for diabetes. Another carrier may be good for if you had cancer before. Another carrier may be good for OCPD. So it just depends on what your situation is. And if you're fully healthy, you'll qualify for every company. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But my job is to teach people and to help them and to save them time and money and help them protect their family.
I love it, man. I love it. There was one more question that I wanted to hit on, but it's leaving me. Um, so I see we glitching a little bit here. But first and foremost, man. Hold up. All right, all right. You still see me and hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
All right, just a second. Trying to see what's going on over here. All right, give me just a second. I'm gonna refresh things
Yes,
on
sir.
my side just to
No worries.
make sure that we are good. All right. Can you see me, man?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, good deal, good deal. Yeah, it's giving me some issues over here, so I'm gonna have to work
Mm.
on knocking those out before the next time I go live. But first and foremost, man, the information that you have been giving is just so vital. And I try to ask a broad range of questions because I know a lot of times people have questions, but they're like, "Hey, I don't know. Should I ask? Is that a stupid question?" Nah, the stupid
There's
question is the
no,
one that you don't
no
ask.
there's no
Uh,
stupid question.
so, what I was gonna say is there is there a place that you would refer people to go when it comes to checking out what it is that you have to offer, how to get a hold of you, how to get a policy review from you? Where would they go to get that info?
Yes, sir. I actually have. I have a website. It's called www.savagelifeinsurance.site. And so
I'm not hearing
look at
you on my
total.
side. It might just be me.
It said you muted me.
Let's see. I don't know. The
Can you
audio
hear me now?
went out on my side. Give me just a sec. I'm telling you, technology is the devil, boy. Sometimes I mean it's good for us.
You already.
All right, mic check.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Mic check. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You cannot hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I don't know why I can't hear you. So you can hear me though, right? Okay, perfect. So as long as the audience can hear you, and let's see, I got a little. Okay, perfect. As long as the audience can hear you, then we're good. But yeah, where can people go to reach out to you to find the information that they need to be able to take advantage of the services that you have to offer?
I have a website, www.savagelifeinsurance.site. They could easily go there and request a consult. Also, you can just find me on social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all of that. So I know that's where everybody's on social media nowadays. So they can just go to my social media or they can go to my website. My phone number and all that stuff is on the website. So they can just give me a call, send me a message or whatever. Just reach out to me and I'll take it from there.
All right.
Can you hear me?
This technology is going to be the enemy. You guys, he gave you the insight. So I am actually. Let me drop it here in the chat or in the. Let me add an extra. You want to go to his website to reach out to him, and you can also check the info that I drop in the comment section after we end here, and reach out to this guy. There's so much that he has to offer. There's so much value that people need to really understand when it comes to life insurance, that usually you're not going to get that information until you reach out to someone directly. And I hope you guys have built a certain semblance of trust when it comes to Sterling based off of this conversation here. But with that being said, that's going to be a wrap for today. Hopefully, we get these technical issues situated before my next go around. But we are out of here. Let's see. Great information. Yeah, appreciate it, Mr. Anthony Mitchell. Uh, yeah, so we're out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. I want to say tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Time. But we'll have Sterling back probably towards the back end of the month again, because I really want to kind of tie in some of these life insurance components to um, trust, living trust, power of attorney, all these different things that you want to put in place in combination with life insurance to make sure that your family is protected. God forbid when that day comes that you're no longer here. So, guys, go out and have a wonderful remainder of your day. If you need anything, do not hesitate to reach out. If I can't get it for you, I'm pretty sure I can point you in the right direction. And with that being said, we're out. See you guys on the flip side. Sterling,
Appreciate
you
you.
hold tight. I'm gonna come back to you in the
Okay.
background.